The primary thing, there's a few basic things that are different about Hot Springs. Hot Springs National Park started out as Hot Springs Reservation in 1832. So there were no such thing as national parks back then. It was 40 years before the first national park was ever designated. But the country was in the throes of trying to decide, how do we set things aside? How do we save things that ought to be preserved for the future? The bathhouses you see on Bathhouse Row today are actually the last generation of bathhouses to occur in these locations. Originally, people were coming here to bathe, and the water was just coming out of the ground on Hot Springs Mountain, so they would just dig out a hole, and the water would fill up in the holes, and they would bathe in those pits on the side of the hill. It was only later that people came in and said, well, let's build a little hut or something, so at least we're bathing out inside. So the first bathhouses were just basically shacks built right near the water source. And then later they were built down near Hot Springs Creek in the valley floor, and the water was brought in from the springs up on the hillside in open troughs. The next generation of bathhouses, after a fire, burned all the original ones down. They built, during the Victorian era, they built large wooden structures that were pretty elaborate, pretty big buildings. And then those were all removed along about the turn of the last century, turn of the 1900s. As the water leases expires, all of those old wooden buildings were torn down because they were hard to keep clean because of all the hot air and the humidity all the time. And stone structures or masonry structures replaced them all. That's why all the buildings you see now are roughly contemporary. They're built at roughly the same time, the same era anyway. And they were the ones that were existing when bathing began to wane and the bathhouses began to go out of business. So they were preserved, and that's what's on Bathhouse Row today in the National Park. We're the only national park in the system that is mandated by its creation law to give away its primary resource. We are to preserve the geothermal water and make it available for free to the public who wants to drink it. So that's why the jug fountains there are people lined up at the jug fountains all day long every day. They're here to get the water that's theirs by law. When you came here, you were in like a 2 or 3 week regimen of bathing and exercise. And part of that exercise was rigorous exercise inside the building. And some of it was just strolling on the mountainside to get to be in the outdoors, to be in nature, to relax. So it was a holistic treatment for you. It was physical, it was mental, it was almost spiritual treatment too. It was to treat the whole person when you came here. And a lot of people, that's why they may not have actually been cured of anything, but they felt like they had been cured of something because they went away feeling so much more relaxed, and maybe they did have increased range of motion. The Hot Springs Mountain, there are 47 springs. That's the number that are the springs that are active right now. And the water just is artesian. It's just coming out of the mountain. It's not being pumped out of anywhere. Although the system is contained so it doesn't get polluted, you don't see the water that's being collected except in a few display springs where we try to make it look like it used to when there were no enclosure. But there are about 47 springs, and they average about 700,000 gallons of water every 24 hours. And it comes out of the ground at an average temperature of about 143 degrees. And as the bathhouses or any other bathhouses in town call for thermal water, it's pulled out of those reservoirs. It's not reheated. So as new thermal water is coming out of the ground all the time, those reservoirs are overflowing all the time. And all the overflow goes into Hot Springs Creek and goes south toward the Ouachita River, well, Lake Hamilton.